On conversation number 30, we dive into the topic of addiction and how it affects our psychology and behavior. We also be transparent and talk about the addictions that we had and the processes that we took to come out of addiction. Tap in. The Financial Fashion brand, was created to empower people to be the best version of themselves. And we do that by promoting positivity, self-improvement, and financial literacy. And we also focus on mindset, faith, education, and wealth, because those are the principles and those are the things that you can learn to be successful in life and in business. So with that being said, take a look at our website at fnfstore.com, where you can find our apparel, you can find things about our company, and much more. Back to the show. You are now tuned in to We Invest Different Podcast, where we have high-level conversations. I'm Mr. John Michael Best.
And I'm Victor Thomas II.
Let's tap in. Welcome to another conversation of We Invest Different Podcast. I'm co-host Mr. John Michael Best.
And I'm your other co-host, Victor Thomas II.
Man, this is so good to be back, man, with you, brother.
Yeah, man.
It feels so good, man. The energy in the room is so high, man. So good to have this connection again, because we connect good together, man. We go great together, man. We good together, man. And I'm glad to have you back. How you doing today, Vic?
Hey, man. Blessed, man, to have you in my presence, cuz, always a good thing. Always gonna be some good talks, man. And I'm grateful for that, man. I'm grateful that you got here safe, and we in this thing, so.
Yep, we're in the same room, man. Same room right now. And we have, we get a chance to have our energy collide, at the same time. It's just different when you're in the room with one another versus just being on a phone call.
Oh, man, for sure.
So it's a different vibe, man. So your week was okay, Vic?
Yeah, man. Just taking some time these last couple of days, been taking some time to relax a little bit, detach, as I got to do sometimes. But yeah, it's been a pretty good week, man. I'm really been recognizing, like, I'm in a good place, man. I'm really starting to see that my goals and my plans, now that I'm really starting to plan and the plans coming together, it's like, dang, God really blessed me with everything I needed to get where I'm trying to go. It's right here around me, you know what I mean? So I'm grateful to have that revelation this past week for sure. Like, I really been telling myself that all week, like, I'm in a good spot. So, man, been a pretty good week in regards to that, man. How about you?
Man, I've been well. Family been good. Been loving on my son. Been learning more about him. Mm-hmm. Definitely putting in work more than ever, for sure. I actually just went to a branding event by David Shands and Donnie Wiggins, two great coaches and entrepreneurs that I'm involved with. I was in their community and their network or whatever, and I heard about the event, and I ended up going. It was a great experience. I learned a lot there about business and everything else, man. Met a couple great people, and I'm looking forward to actually implementing the things that I learned, but we'll get more into that in the conversation, in the segment of the things that we learn. And we'll tap into that. But in this conversation, my bro, I really wanted to dive into the topic of addiction, the psychological effects of addiction, because a lot of us don't really think that we can be addicted to anything. And because addiction is a psychological thing, you can literally become addicted to anything, and that's the reason why. And we're gonna tap into that. So I did look at the definition of addiction, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't remember the literal definition of it, but I decided to really come up with my own context of it. And my context of addiction is something having control of you to the point where you can't have control of it. Mm-hmm. Anything that has control of you that causes you not to have control of it. Anything that has control of you that causes you not to have control of it is a form of addiction. And that can fall in the lines of anything. Because anything has the possibility to control you if you give it to it. And that's the psychological effect of addiction, because you literally have to give that thing. That thing has a power over you to the point where you can't say no to it. You will literally alter your actions. You will literally alter your behavior. You will alter your day to satisfy this feeling, this urge. You see what I'm saying, bro?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. Addiction. Just open discussion on addiction, bro. Like, what's your perspective on addiction? How do you feel it happens? And then later on in the conversation, we'll get into the processes of how to deal with addiction, because I know I've been addicted to a few things. And I'll be transparent on that end of the spectrum, but you can go whichever way you want to go in the conversation. I just wanted you to give your spiel on addiction.
I think from my perspective, I think one part that I never paid attention to was that how habit plays such a part in it, and whatever we addicted to, the habit of it, cause nothing really starts as an addiction. You know, it's like we do something, whatever it may be. We do something, and then it turns into one. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's an important piece to pay attention to, as far as, like, you know, trying to reverse it. You know, the habit of it. Because for a long time, like, I would drink, you know what I'm saying? But I never looked at it as like an addiction. It started off just something that I did because I was bored. You know what I mean? Something to do.
Yeah.
And then it turned into more stuff after it becoming such a habit. You know, I'm getting it this many times a week. Then I'm going to start getting it every day. You know what I mean? Then it's multiple times a day. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a major point right there, I believe. So
Do you feel that habits are created unintentionally or intentionally?
unintentionally.
All habits? All habits, you feel like all habits?
Oh, well, no. Well, of course, if we trying to do something that's going to, like, make us better, and we see how it could make us better, then I believe at that point we could be intentional about it.
But you feel like bad habits are more unintentional?
I would say so, yeah.
Why?
Because it's almost like it kind of creep up on you. You know what I mean? It's not like just like with any addiction that we have. It's not like we take the mind of, I'm gonna try to do this. I want to be addicted to this one thing. You feel me? It's more like, oh, I'm just messing with this. I'm just messing with this, and then it turned into one. And that's why I think, you know, it might not have been intentional, subconsciously or consciously. You know what I mean? Maybe the action that we did can make it seem intentional. But I don't think that it is per se out the gate.
You know what, brother?
What's up?
I really feel like this is my personal opinion, and this is from my own observation of myself. With my forms of addiction and the addictions that I've had in the past, I think I always knew it was an addiction. I just denied the fact that I didn't want to be called an addict.
But, well, the thing about that is, so you saying that the first day that you indulged in that thing which turned into an addiction, you knew it was an addiction?
My thing is, how can something be a habit without it being a certain form of addiction? Because you can be addicted to something positive too. So like we just said, you could apply yourself and you could actually put energy towards good habits. We did already establish that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that, you know, you already love something, right? You can already love doing something. You didn't have to make yourself do that, right? So you already in love with this something that was why it was so easy for it to become a habit. So you have a certain connection with this thing already. That's why it was easy for it to become a habit. And for it to become an addiction. So what I'm saying is some of the things that I became addicted to, I had already had a love for already prior to before it became a habit. So like, it's some things that I won't even get into, like taking perks. Like my experiences with taking a perk was that it felt so good that I automatically knew that if I took another one, I would be addicted.
Off the first time.
How amazing that shit made me feel. I'm scared of it now. I don't want to ever take a perk again because I know it felt so good that I would definitely be, I got a higher risk of me being a perk addict. I know that because I already, based off of my love for it that I got already, based off of the relationship that I have with this thing already, I already know that if I push the limits, it's going to become a problem. So sometimes I think we just deny what we already know about ourselves because we like what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, see, I think the situation you had, though, it also comes with some level of self-realization. You know what I mean? Which a lot of people don't necessarily have. At least to the degree that you have it, to know that, oh, I don't need to mess with this. I think for some people, it's like, yes, this feels good, and that's it. I'm going to try it again because it feels good. You know,
so in the back of your mind, when you say that, right, you don't never hear nothing that say, I ain't going to be no addict, though.
I haven't.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And I think that might be because of, like, your experience. Like, you've seen what can happen. You know what I mean? Everybody haven't had that experience of seeing where this maybe bad thing can go. You know what I mean? So maybe for you, it's more so like, okay, I know that if I continue to do this, I'm going to intentionally be creating this habit which will form into an addiction. But I don't think a lot of people have that insight or understanding. It's like, oh, this feels good for right now. I'm going to do it again. And then I'm going to do it again. Then next thing you know, oh, damn, here I am. You know what I mean? I think that's how it typically goes.
Man, that just learned something.
What you mean?
I mean, I'm just saying, you really just opened my perspective up because not everybody have that consciousness of this gonna turn me to an addict. So not everybody got that, like, that mental filter or that mental process of where they like, you know what, I need to limit myself, or like you said, if they've never seen the result of something, if they don't know what something is going to do to them, then they don't know what to expect. So you really just seeing what happens, and then if you end up liking it, you just keep going because you never really considered how the long-term effects of it. You didn't consider it. So I do see that perspective as well. But like I was saying, you know, like with my personal experience, and yes, I have seen addiction like ruin lives. I've seen people whole appearances change. I've seen people be really, really skinny and malnutrition because of addiction. So I have had previous, exposure to addiction. So my level of consciousness when it comes to addiction is different. So I definitely agree with that. Thank you for bringing that out, bro, because I ain't think about that in. People don't have that mindset sometimes to stop themselves or to even consider what something is going to do to their body or to their minds or how it's going to affect their family or anything like that.
I think that's why it would be good to have more awareness around that, but I don't think we will. I mean, of course, you're going to have drug awareness, but like that real deep understanding of it, I don't think there is no other way to really get that understanding unless you being close to it. So you
mean to tell me, so you do consider you do consider yourself a you've been off alcohol for a while, right? So what do you call that? I don't know what word to call somebody that has been alcohol free for a while. But whatever that word is.
Victor.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I'll be, man.
So you mean to tell me when you was drinking, right? Nothing never, even though we've seen that in our family, that alcoholism in our family, we've seen it, right? So in your psyche, right? Nothing at the back of your mind never said that you could potentially become a drunk.
Oh, well, I was already a drunk at that point.
When you started thinking about it, you was already a drunk.
I was already up through there. It was.
So
I had crossed
in,
that point.
So okay, you comfortable talking about this, right? Because I'm trying to learn something. I'm trying to really. I'm a psychologist, so I'm really trying to understand the mindset of where you were when you first started drinking. So let's go back when you first started drinking for fun, right? Recreational. How did that process start?
It was never a thought of I might turn into an alcoholic, if that's what you're getting at. It was never.
No, I'm just trying to get to where you was.
It was just, I'm just having fun. Finna go to school, drunk. You know what I mean? And it's like at that point, no one's gonna say anything that's more so like gonna even spark that thought. Cause like motherfuckers is young, this a good time. You know what I mean? It ain't really know what's going on, bro. You know what I mean? It wasn't none of that going on. It was just like, oh, we just on our bullshit. You dig what I'm saying? So it never was like, oh, if I keep doing this, I'm turning to alcoholic. It's like, nah, I'm gonna keep doing it. And then as it progress, then you start hearing them things from other people that's kind of like, what's up with you type deal. And then you start thinking like, oh shit, what the fuck is up with me now?
Did you think that then?
Not initially. It wasn't until after I'm drinking heavily. You did
after
what I'm
you
saying?
had already created the habit.
Yeah.
That started already. After you created the habit, at that point you've already worked on your psyche. So I'm just going through the process. That's all I'm doing. So once you started drinking and you started, then started to tell you that you need to, what you're doing, you may be going down the wrong road or whatever it may be. And you still didn't consider the fact that you may become an alcoholic.
No, because I already was one. That's the thing.
So dang, then nobody seen. So you already had a habit.
Yeah.
Already before folks started saying something.
That's the tricky part, bro. That's why I say it's unintentional. You feel me? Because it sneak up on you. It's like by the time people get to recognizing it, by the time people start recognizing it, you already damn near off the deep end. You feel me?
Whoa, bro.
You already there. It's just like if somebody doing drugs or, smoking crack. It's like once you see them and they showing the effects of it, they damn near there. You feel me? It's like once they done got to the point where you can see the effects in their behavior or in the way their appearance, they've crossed that threshold. You know what I mean? So it really ain't no, oh, I might turn into an addict. Like, nah, I ain't never heard nobody that shit happening to. Or maybe a person would have a thought, but it's not nothing that a person would act on. Because, at that point, whatever that addicting thing is, you might be locked in on it. So you ain't trying to hear shit.
That was me.
Yeah.
That was me. See, that's the reason why I said what I said earlier. Because it was always something, when I'm getting too far into something, my consciousness will kick in and be like, I'm noticing I'm not having control of myself. Because that's my process when I was addicted to weed, right? I started looking at my behavior and I wasn't okay with the things that I was doing and what I was becoming. So I started becoming disgusted with myself off of the actions and the behavior, like the things that I was actually doing. It wasn't the fact that it was weed. It was the behavior and how I was acting that caused me to realize that I was in the spirit of addiction. Because I couldn't function right. And my dependency level was so high to the point where I would drive without no gas to get some. And I felt no different from a crackhead at that point. When I started looking at myself, right, I realized like, bro, there's no difference right now. Like, you looking bad out here. Like, what's the difference between weed and crack at this point? The thing that connects anything that you're addicted to is the fact that you don't have control of yourself. That's the connecting factor. That's the common denominator. Like, it's not so much about the substance in which you are addicted to. It's the addiction that you need to focus on. Because nothing, you shouldn't allow nothing to get control of you to the point where you can't control yourself. And that's the whole point of everything. So, like, I do want to tap into the process of breaking the addiction that we had, bro. So, like, I want to talk about that process that you went through, right, in your mental, in your psychology, of where you then realized that you was an addict, right? Because I had to see myself as well, and it changed my behavior, right? Because I had to actually work on myself because I seen where I was. And I know you went through the same process. You seen yourself and you seen, where you was at the time. So let's talk about that process of where you seen yourself and you knew that you wanted to be different. And like, what was that process like?
It wasn't a short process at all, bro. Cause it's like I had that realization, but that don't mean I was done doing what I was doing. You know what I mean? It's like you get that consciousness, but to be real with you, bro, I can't sit here and take credit for no step process that I did. It wasn't nothing but God, bro. It ain't nothing but God that can really pull a person up out of that, bro. And that's if you choose to. You know what I mean? Like, I can hear people talk about work these steps and do this process to come up out that stuff, man. But at the end of the day, ain't nothing but God, bro.
Yeah.
And even the steps that they do have for like stuff like NA and AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, it's God in it, bro. And they let you know, like, this is impossible without some type of reliance on a higher being. You feel me? It's impossible. Like, none of these steps work unless that's in this. You know what I mean? So with me, bro, it was basically God creating events in my life. After I had the consciousness of, okay, I got a problem. God had to create events in my life that was like, okay, I'm calling you. You see me calling you. Run into this, run into that, run into this. And then after a while, you end up running into that one thing that's like, all right, fuck this shit, bro. You know what I mean? I'm tired of having to run into these things because it start impacting so many parts of your life. Like at first it might start off with you missing events or being late or showing up to the event not at 100%, you know what I mean? Whether you high, tired. But then it started getting those small events start piling up. And now it's like, oh, dang, how do I fix this? And that's why I say it ain't nothing but God at that point, bro, because I don't care how many steps you take, bro. I don't care how many books one may read or how many psychologists they talk to. God, bro. That's the only way through it. And it's different for everybody. You know what I mean? It's not one way to get over any addiction. It really take, like when you said, you realize that the behaviors you didn't like with your situation. You feel me? That's because I firmly believe that's because you had an understanding of what you wanted for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of people out here, bro, that don't know what they want for themselves. So it's hard to really have that realization if you don't know where you trying to go.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that was a vital part of your situation too. But we really gotta sit back and be like, okay, who do I want to be? Not even who do I want to be? God, who do you want me to be?
And see, that's why I wanted you to tap into that, brother, because you got a deeper perspective, because I haven't been through the things you've been through, bro. And with my fight with addiction, it's different.
Yeah.
I've called my addiction irresponsibility. Because I was very irresponsible with weed. And that's another thing I didn't like. That's another thing I didn't like about myself. Like how I didn't consider certain things while doing my dirt. Like, it made me not care about certain things. Like, I would get too relaxed about certain things. And so, like you said, I had a consciousness of where I wanted to be and the goals that I had. And so I started seeing that the things that I stood for wasn't aligned with the things that I was doing.
Right.
So I was like I told you before, it's not the substance. Like, okay, yeah, I smoke weed, and I'm not going to get into like that. Like, smoking weed, this is not what the conversation about. It's about addiction. So I was more so concerned about my behavior. Like, I wasn't controlling myself, because it's not what goes in the body that defiles a man, it's what comes out.
Yes, sir.
So, like, I wasn't controlling myself. So what was coming out is that I was speaking to everybody and communicating to everybody that I didn't have control of myself. And that's one of the things that I'm working on now. Like, when you're not able to control yourself on one end of your life, it affects all ends of your life.
Real talk.
So, like, it caused me not to never be on time. Like, I'm just being honest and completely transparent. Addiction will do this to you. Like, I'm never on time nowhere, and I don't necessarily have to be high or on drugs to be late. Like, it affected me that way. Like, I don't move fast. So I had to really work on my mindset and work on my psychology, because I be too relaxed. And with that being the natural person that I am, and without me having control of weed make me even more relaxed. So with me already being a relaxed person, it's going to be that times 10. So I had to then realize who I wanted to be and gain control and be more responsible and be more moderate with all that I do, so I can maintain my psychological control. But like you said, you made a very key point, that God has to be in your process. And see, that's what I was getting to at the first beginning. Like, when I realized I was becoming a person that I wasn't satisfied with, it really was that I was becoming a person that I felt like God wasn't satisfied with. Cause like, I was becoming a real addict. Like, bro, you don't even drive to church when you out of gas, but you driving to get some weed. You see what I'm saying? Like, you will say, oh, I ain't got no gas to make it tonight, and you will stay home. But if you want some weed, you will drive on E to get it. And I'm just been completely 100. Like,
Real talk.
You got to really be real with yourself, and that's what I had to do. And that was the Lord helping me through that, because, like you said, when you got that realization of that you was an addict, you didn't change overnight. When I got that realization, it didn't happen overnight. Like, I told a few people when I was dealing with that, like, I went through a whole, like, month or two still being an addict before I got really control of it. And I was conscious. See, the first step is me actually acknowledging that I was an addict. I couldn't actually change the fact that I was an addict then, but I still had the consciousness to build up to make that change.
Right.
So, like, a while I was like, bro, I ain't even gonna lie. I was even telling the Lord, I'm an addict. I'm addicted to weed. Now, I'm still smoking weed, saying that I'm an addict. But my consciousness changed. At first, I couldn't even admit to myself that I was an addict. Right. I was denying the fact that I was addicted to it. But see, he helped me get to that point to where I could then look at myself in the mirror and say, you are an addict and you need to change. Right. The Lord helped me get to that place within myself. So I do agree 100% that it has to be a form of a higher power to show you yourself, so you can create goals for yourself. Or else you're going to keep doing what you're doing. But when you get a vision for yourself, bro, it gives you something to fight for. Right. And that's what it created for me. Like, I already had a vision of who I wanted to be, though. I just fell off. You know what I'm saying? We all fall off. And that's what we talked about last episode, talking about the paradigm. When you're going through these changes, life still happens, bro. Temptation still come. Right. So you still just have to build up, like I said, that positive arsenal. You just got to build up that consistency of bettering yourself. And eventually you'll make that change. And that's what happened to you. And that's what happened to me as well. And I just wanted to talk about that process so people can realize that it is possible. Like, whatever addiction that people are dealing with, it's very possible. And we also got to understand that addiction is very psychological. And that's what I wanted to get off. Like, of course, we know that it's going to take a higher power to get you out of this, this habit or this condition that you in. But also what helps you get to that place to give it to God is having that consciousness of that it's a mental problem. Like, if you're not aware that this is a problem, you're going to keep thinking that you can solve it. Right. But until then, you realize that I don't have control of myself, and you render that prayer up to the higher power to give you strength to take on that shit. Then you can get through it.
Yeah.
So we can sit here and solemnly say, right, that a pivotal first step in the healing process of addiction is giving it to God. And we as two individuals can say firmly that has helped us in our processes. And that's the process that we can only put out because that's the process that we went through. We can't put out no other process. Some people may have had to go to therapy. Some people may have had to do different things. But our process was that we became conscious. Well, I know you went through. I want to tap into that.
What?
I want you to tap into that.
Rehab?
Yeah, because I didn't go through that process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I was an addict. But like I said, you went through different things. So for those who may potentially have to go through that process, speak on that end because I can't speak on that experience.
Oh, well, before I went to rehab, my mind was already made up. And I think that's the number one thing as far as, trying to take that route. Don't go because, somebody telling you to go. Like, go because you really ready for a change because it ain't going to work, man. Because I remember when I was there with some people that really didn't want to be there. You got people that's like court order type shit, you know what I mean? These niggas just breaking all the rules, you know what I mean? Like, one dude obviously didn't want to be there. And he knows against the rules, but he got a whole girl up in his room, you feel me? Like, don't want to be there and letting everybody know he don't. You know what I mean? So it didn't work out for him. A couple weeks later, they kicked him out, of course. A couple of weeks later, he back doing the same thing. We see him walking around the streets. And you know what he on. You feel me? Back to the same shit. But it really come down to really wanting to make that change and getting tired of the same thing, man. It's like it's such a spiritual process, bro. It's such a spiritual process, bro. Cause it's like the rehab was a good place to be in this process. But I still can't give probably about number 5% credit to the actual rehab for my process and the success of it. I can't give number 5% credit to it. Cause it really come down to where your mind at, what you want to do. Are you gonna bite down? Are you gonna sit down somewhere and meditate? You know what I mean? Are you gonna damn near change your whole life around, bro? Is motherfuckers willing to do that? Change their whole life around, bro. But the rehab was a cool process. You learn and you pick up different tools from the little classes they teach us, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, bro, it's God, bro. And I can't stress that enough, bro. I can't stress that enough, bro. All God, bro. For real. I can't get credit to nothing else.
I mean, that's just what it is, bro.
That's what it is. I mean, I wish I could. I wish I could go into it and be like, the rehab was this, the rehab was that. But when none of it have been nothing, bro, if God wasn't moving in me at the time that he wanted me to move in. Because, shit, I could have been stopped drinking. You know what I mean? But that's a tough pill for folks to swallow, bro. Like, don't nothing happen unless God allow it. Don't nothing continue unless God allow it. Don't nobody want to hear that part. So, for people out there that got family members that's, addicted to whatever, understand that God is allowing that. As sucky as it may seem, God is allowing that for a reason.
That's deep.
God is allowing it, bro. And I'm just telling you, from my experience, now that I done pushed through that, I see that it was for a reason. It's a part of my story. It kind of adds to my validity. You know what I mean? I firmly believe a lot of times we get validated through our struggles, bro. You know what I mean? If we ain't got no struggle to pull from, hey man, what you talking about? Ain't nothing to talk about. You ain't been through nothing.
It's the experience, bro.
Yeah.
CEO here, tapping in. I just wanted to remind all of our supporters and all of our listeners to share our podcast and encourage everybody to subscribe and get these great conversations. Back to the show. For sure, bro, because, without the experience, you ain't got the credibility.
Right.
That's just like going to college. Like, folks be teaching, economics and all of these things, and they not successful in the topics that they even teaching. The coursework and the classwork that they teaching you, they not successful in. So it's like, it's redundant.
Right.
But that's a whole nother conversation. So leading into our next segment, man, of what you learn, I want you to, yeah, we already know what we do, man. We tap into something that we learn that we can add value to somebody's life, because that's the main point of We Invest Every Podcast. We want to add value and have takeaways of the show.
Mm-hmm. You go first.
Well, I'm going to go back to the branding event that I just went to from, David Shands and Danny Wiggins. Mm-hmm. They talked about a lot, but one of the main things that I learned, the main message that I learned from the event is be clear. Like, be clear. Be clear and thorough, and don't make it hard for people to understand what you're doing.
Yeah, right.
How can you get anybody to patronize anything if you couldn't communicate to them how to do it? Right. So I felt like, that was a lesson that could be applied not just in business, but in life, just in communication, period. You got to be clear, because if it's not clear, then you won't get it done. Whatever you're trying to set out to do, whatever you're trying to get across, whatever point you're trying to get across, it won't get got across because it's not clear. So yeah, bro, I felt like those were some very key points that I can apply to anything. You know what I'm saying? So what about you?
That's good stuff, bro. Being clear. But me, I guess going back to what I said initially about, seeing that I'm in a good spot. And number one thing I learned was like, for me to look at what's already around me and use what I got. Like, I know a lot of times with goals and all this other stuff, I'll sit there and be like, well, I got to wait till I can get this. I got to wait till I can get that. It's like, no, take what you got now and do it. What do you got now? Even as far as people, I was watching some I don't want to call them music video because that ain't what it is. Well, I'll say some music business video. But, they were talking about, man, if you trying to get into managing or something like that, brought with somebody you already know. Don't feel like you got to go out there and find the right person in the right. Just start from where you at and who you around right now. You know what I mean? So I think that's a major key for me. Because when I do look around and see what's around me as far as people and resources, it's like it's all there. Now it just take me using my mind and consistency to make it shake. So that's the number one thing I learned. Use what I got right now instead of thinking like I got to get to this place to do this. Like, nah, nigga, you got it right now. For real.
Man, that's you just dropped it off for me. I can take that as a lesson myself. Appreciate that, because, hey, that's how I really feel. That's really what I've been thriving on, because you might not have everything, bro. Mm-hmm. Everything you might not, but you do got everything. Sometimes we tell ourselves we don't got everything, but you got what you need because God allowed you to have life right now. And like, I'm pretty sure that you can do something. Like,
right.
It's always something that you can do. So
always. Definitely
can dig that, man. So our next segment now, you already know it's the financial theme of the month. This is a new month. And we started that on like the last episode when we had our guests. What I said the theme of the month was, or the financial lesson of the month is like, invest into get into a place that you've never been before. And what I mean by that is like you might have to go to networking events. I want all of the financial things and all of the financial lessons to be aligned with our real lifestyle. So, like I just said, I invested in going to an event for brand clarity and networking. Like that was an investment, and I learned something from that. So with that being said, I want you guys to invest into getting to a place that you've never been before. So you have to do some things you've never done before. Like I don't go to networking events like that. Like I was just getting done telling Vic before the show, like this is like the second networking event I've been to in the last 8 years. 8 years. So how do you expect people to know what you have to offer or know what value you add if you don't get out here and mingle and be friendly with people? And then the thing about that too is like, if you're doing something good and you believe in it, why wouldn't you want people to know about it? So like I had to start believing in myself a little bit more. And I think because I got brand clarity now and I learned a lot more, I have a clear vision now. I'm more confident when it comes to talking about my business. Because I know what I'm here to do now. I know what I serve and I know what I add. So that's another thing, you guys. Like, invest into something that's going to get you where you've never been before. So you got to do something that you've never done before, whatever it is. Investing into personal development, investing into your mental health, whatever it is, becoming the healthiest version of yourself, whatever it might be for you, invest inside of that so you can reach another level in your life after you reach another level within yourself. So with that being said, Vic, anything else you want to add?
No, man, stay peaceful, man. Hold on to that peace, man. That's all I can say.
For sure.
For real. Oh! I got to say one more thing.
Do your thing.
When, like, team type stuff, one thing I learned is to bring people in that got a passion for what they do. You know, because when you started something from the ground up, man, it ain't going to always pay off out the gate. And you got to have that something that's going to keep the team going. They got to really fuck with what they doing. Because if they only in it for the money, 9 times out of 10, once that money get to looking a little funny, which it is with any startup, it's going to be a funny money situation somewhere. When that happens, you don't want your whole team to just fall by the wayside. So get with some people that really care about what they doing and they got a sense of purpose behind it. And it's not just, because I want to make some money. Like, nah, ask them questions for sure. Ask folks, why do they do what they do and see what they say and move accordingly.
Thanks for that pointer, brother. That's all a part of the financial thing with a month and the financial lesson. That's two lessons, you guys. 2 lessons in one. One is invest into some things that you've never done before so you can get to places that you've never been before. And the next one is pay attention to the team that you're building. Like, because in entrepreneurship, most of us have a vision of growing our businesses and doing more, adding more value. So in the course of you growing your team and getting around the right people, we have to understand that everything has to be aligned and energy and intention has to be aligned. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in to another conversation of We Invest Different Podcast. I'm co-host Mr. John Michael Best.
And I'm your other co-host, Victor Thomas II.
It was a pleasure, kings and queens, and the 2 kings is out.
Peace.
Gone. Are you stressed, anxious, or depressed? Well, here's some good news for you. We started a mental health movement called MH10, and we encourage people to pay more attention to their mental health. So do this for us. Take at least 10 minutes per day to take a walk in nature, a jog, run, or just meditation to decrease your stress, because stress is one of the leading causes of chronic physical and mental illnesses in the body. So if you want to join the movement, you can also post on social media, post your 10 minutes by using hashtag MH10 or Mental Health 10 Minutes. On next week's episode, be expecting a very, very special guest, Delonte Brady. You guys will find out on that episode who he is. See you guys then.